Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Market Movers. Ooh, God, that's a lot of energy for Monday, November 8th, even for myself, where we're going to do some live analysis for day trading, look at hotspots in the markets. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me is Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. Before Brian and I jump into what are potential hotspots today, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. What are we going to be looking at today? Well, number one, this is going to be a story for the week. We're going to watch these oil markets. There's a reason for that. Brian's going to get into why we need to be paying attention to oil because it is becoming not just a hot topic for economic recovery, but at $80 a barrel, it's becoming a political hot potato as well. So we're certainly going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at what's going on in the British pound. British pound made some pretty dramatic moves last week, looking like it wants to try to retrace some of those. And then we're going to take a quick peek over at what's going on in the equities markets. Mostly everything's looking to open in the green with the exception of the NASDAQ. The only reason the NASDAQ might not be opening in the green, it's being pulled down a little bit by Tesla. Tesla did cross the $1 trillion market cap threshold. And over the weekend, Elon Musk had a Twitter poll on whether he should sell 10% of his stake, 10% of his shares. And Twitterverse decided, yeah, you should sell over $20 billion worth of stock. Well, with that, Twitter's
Tesla.
I'm sorry,
I'm the sick
Tesla.
one, and you're like forgetting everything.
That is Tesla. Tesla's gapping lower 4 or 5%, which is okay because he announces a fake deal with Hertz, gets the stock to take off, so
Yeah.
now he could sell. He could sell his stock, and it's not that he's asking the universe whether he should be selling his stock. He needs to raise some cash, and yeah, with the ride that Tesla's done, there's no
They gotta
reason why
pay
he
for
shouldn't
infrastructure.
monetize.
Yeah. They gotta pay for infrastructure somehow. Like they said, the plan is to
That
tax
tax bill
everybody
is
that
gonna
need money.
come
Right.
due.
But the thing is, but then, Mr. Pelosi at the same time would probably, I mean, he has that $1 million position in options. So I feel like, I don't know,
Oh,
it's there,
maybe
but
he's
it's
getting
not.
clipped this morning too, isn't he? I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, it was going for 1,000. So at 1,200, he's safe. So I mean, there'll be
Okay.
some premium in there. I'm sure that erodes away, but at this point, if he hasn't closed out already, I'm pretty sure he's safe. I don't
All
think,
right.
like I said, the bathrooms may not work on the spaceship, but besides that, everybody else is good.
All right, so let's start off with what's going on in oil here. I'm going to flip this over. Oh, and by the way, I want to remind you, tomorrow is the IG event. If you haven't registered yet, I'll drop that link in momentarily. But for that summit, uh, it starts tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. But I will drop that in to make sure that here's your last chance to register. All right, with that, Brian, let's start off with crude oil.
Yeah, I mean, just in the overnight, there's been a few different headlines, particularly in regards to energies. As far as the currency market goes, and that's typically again the week starts, on Sunday night in the United States because of Europe and the Asian session. The only thing that is really moving is pound, and we'll cover that next. But there's been a couple different, there's been news out of at China talking about things are coming back online, but there's two interesting articles that we saw, and I think this is going to be a hot button for the entire week. I know last night after the boys practice, I'll turn on and see what the updated news is for the night. They were all over oil this week, all over it, mentioning it last night that there was going to be some statements, there were some potential things that people had mentioned. Energy secretaries talking about tapping the strategic oil reserve. The UAE, United Arab Emirates, their industry minister came out with a comment a little while ago that says OPEC Plus is going to ensure that oil price increases do not hurt the global economy, which is interesting because every nation in the world right now is talking about how this is starting to cripple recovery because it's so high. So it just goes to show how much power OPEC Plus has regained again versus what they had, 4 years ago or 3 years ago. They were kind of irrelevant to the overall energy pricing. There was also something that U.S. Secretary Granholm, I guess that's how you said the name, said that Biden it may make an announcement this week about gasoline and oil. So they're
So
kind
yeah,
of
what
teeing it up. You know, what were you gonna say?
May is saying what? I don't know. Well, we're gonna pay
Yeah.
attention. There could be some interesting news there. Obviously, there's something going on in the background.
Yeah, I mean, he says Biden wants to see more oil supplies and is looking into other tools. And again, the strategic oil reserve was mentioned. I know that's what they were all over last night about. Again, they're like, this is not designed for this. He should not use this, and that's the exact wrong reason why you'd want to tap the strategic oil reserve. Um, it's a very, as you mentioned, it's a very political based issue right now. And again, it can provide a lot of volatility this week in trading. One, because if he does tap the strategic oil reserve and they flood supply, the price is going to go down. I mean, they basically want all the prices to go down. OPEC is like, no, we're going to hold it. It's not going to hurt anybody. But every country said it's a problem, and the inflation has mostly been in the energies. So,
Right.
they're teeing it up again. They don't want the shock. They don't want oil to go back down to zero like it actually did, for a little while. Um, it was right. We should have taken advantage of it. Buy everything, right? But again, there's a lot of comments back and forth. Now, this is strange because, again, if you think about how the entire presidency started, let's cancel the pipeline. It's bad, and that's what kind of triggered this entire initial event. If he mentions bringing anything back like that, all the guys that benefited from that could also now start be hurt from it. Things like Tesla. So there's a lot out there. I mean, this is a very, very big event, guys. And if we look at oil today so far, we had nothing, and then all of a sudden, in the U.S. session, it took off. It went up, and then came back down, and we gap lower. And we kind of flirted around with the 82.71, and we're starting to push back down again. At this point for the week, I mean, I know, that we haven't really given you any setups or anything like that. We don't do recommendations in this broadcast, but when you're looking at everybody talking about, hey, we're going to stabilize, we're not going to let the prices hurt anybody, and everybody wants inflation prices to go down, and now Biden is saying we're going to increase supply. None of these things are positive on a fundamental base level. Now, I'm mostly a technical based trader. It is kind of on the higher side, and we know that the last spikes have been down in this 78.50. It is Monday, knowing the Nadex products.
Yeah,
When you're
we
looking
should
for more of
be.
a swing trade, right?
Let's
Yeah,
look at
when you're
those
looking for
knockouts and
yeah, exactly. Right, we don't have weekly call spreads for this, so this is kind of more of a knockout based trade setup. So again, it's with the knockouts, it's all about finding the correct opportunity, the correct the right risk. Obviously, we still have the inventory report on Wednesday, but I think they're telegraphing this one. He's going to. I mean, this is kind of like when Warren Buffett and President Obama were both talking about it. This is a great time to get into the stock market, and that was literally the bottom of the market, and now we're like 3 times higher in price. It's kind of the same type of telegraphing in my eyes. Like everybody's tired of paying these gas prices. One of my students from California, I asked Friday, I'm like, yeah, I'm paying like 3.30 here, 3.8. It was actually down to 3.18 yesterday. She said she's paying $5.20 per gallon of gas. I mean, that's where we're heading right now. As earnings are great, jobs are looking wonderful right now. Demand's going to go higher. We can't really justify it. It's going to start crippling the recovery. So, it's one of those things.
well, although I don't know if, according to the stock market, Tesla is worth more than every other car maker in the world. If you took all of them and added them up, Tesla's bigger, which means no one needs gas anyway. The whole world's gonna have a Tesla.
except we don't. Yeah, so maybe it's good we got infrastructure bill being passed because we don't have the energy grid to have all electric cars. So
Yeah, oil. We don't
we're
need
still in trouble
oil
either
for our
way.
cars.
Yeah.
Everyone has a Tesla. In fact, the whole world. In fact, everyone who has a car is gonna have a Tesla, and then they're gonna have 2 of them. And then,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
it's
every
yeah.
human on the planet's gonna have a Tesla, including every newborn, because
But
they're gonna
not
get.
but not with auto drive. Auto drive doesn't work yet. So, but
Chip
anyway,
needs a
guys,
Tesla. Does he
I
have a
know.
Tesla yet?
No, no, I can't go there. They're cool, but it's one of those things.
Sorry.
The big debate on my channel is the Tesla truck. Like, how do you have the F-150 Lightning that is a beautiful truck, and then you get the Tesla truck, and you're like, what is this? A DeLorean smashed in with a Tonka truck? Like it's. So I'm not a fan. I didn't pre-purchase it. Anyway,
So Yeah, oil is going to be a hot spot. Take a
Yeah,
take a peek. I'm just
every
going
day
to
this
share
week.
this quickly. I mean, you have to take a look at the knockout levels. I mean, this is there's one here. This would be the lowest, the lowest knockout number 4. But keep an eye on those because there might be an opportunity if there's going to be some pressure. That could be one way to play it a little bit longer versus some of the binary options which are out there, which you could certainly be taking a look at those binary options
Yeah, but I think every
as
day, and
well.
again, if we see some type of a headline, any type of headlines, they're going to try to get in front of us a lot. So again, make sure that you are kind of watching these headlines, and it's there. And like I said, take advantage of the early week movement. I think that's where we need to kind of look for this one.
All right. Now, let's take a look at what's going on in the pound. The pound it's been an interesting story at the end of last
Yeah,
week, but I think we're going to be seeing some, maybe at least it's trying to retrace some of those moves.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, the pound last week, we saw a bunch of weakness coming in. There was a lot of question about that Article 16, whether they're going to invoke that with the fisheries, and that was always the big contention. I mean, that was why Brexit took 6 months longer, was because of the Northern Ireland situation. They're talking about customs. We're not able to inspect ships, and there was a lot of problems with it, and it's still coming back again. So there's been a couple different, they're talking here that the United Kingdom, they mentioned again that, hey, we're not going to vote Article 16. We're not going to do it, but people are calling for it to be done. They were kind of dealing with another COVID spike and that was hurting them. And now what we're seeing is the retrace from all that. Since the European session started, and again, that's where this arrow is right here, it's basically been straight down. It's been nothing but, you know, European weakness, pound strength. You are seeing Bailey speak today at noon. Let's see, Bailey is speaking at a virtual citizens panel open forum. So you guys know how open forums and speeches work. It's not prepared questions, so he could get any type of mention in there. And again, he's not going to be. I would say he's probably not going to be overly negative with the pound. Um, Typically, those events you want to come out with kind of a sign of strength. Last week in the Euro Pound, we had talked about kind of a level of base and it had been tested a bit. It was a breakdown of the 85.39 area, and we're kind of sitting right there right now. We're driving in as fast as we can, and we have what we call again the racetrack sitting right below that, and that was quite a big drop all the way back into that 84.60 range. So that's about 80 pips. That's a big move for the Euro Pound. Um, Potential setup for the week. Like I said, typically we would like to see a base and a pullback. That market is ending. We should see some pullback a little bit with some profit taking, but I think it's a decent opportunity. Um, you know, pound dollar. Again, we were taking all these shorts, that old Harry Potter last week, and again, that bounced a few different times. Actually, came right to where our target was on the downside. We're moving now not to confuse people, but that same type of level now. Looking back up, we have this entire area right here that it had some kickbacks, but kind of the same idea. This one is based more off of pound strength, but also dollar weakness. And if you're looking at the Dixie right now, the Dixie is down just a little bit and kind of pulling back down again. The Dixie is definitely trending back down again without any real kind of great buyers until all the way back down here at 83. So it also matches up here on the pound dollar side of things. Pound yen is also in a similar situation. We had that same kind of Harry Potter came down, right? We were looking for the confirmation. We got the confirmation low and it pushed lower. Now we're back up to that same kind of level here and we got to use this as kind of is this going to be the next takeoff point? If we come up and oops, oh, I just wanted to delete the line.
yeah, you just wanted that other line. There you go.
If we come up in base here, now all of a sudden we pull the Harry Potter out the top side, and kind of the same thinking. Here's that big racetrack. So it's the same picture, right? It's the same picture on multiple different charts. That tends to be how you know that it's a pretty decent setup. Is again, here's pound yen overtaking this, pound dollar overtaking this. Looking at the dollar itself, because again, we would need dollar weakness. Kind of the same thing, and then you got an area here where it kind of ground higher, but nothing crazy, right?
Right.
So and then oil also kind of collapsing, which also does kind of affect the dollar in some stance. So multiple different setups on that one. And remember, the big contention last week was natural gas prices were rising because Russia was like, yeah, we may sell you or we
Yeah.
may ship natural gas. Again, trying to control energy to control the pricing and keeping it high. Like I said, it's one of these things, greed, it's great when it works, but eventually you come up with other technologies or find other sources. And that was the situation that we had a few years ago with OPEC, where we were producing so much of it, we were selling it to everybody else. It was like, hey, you don't really matter anymore. You're not controlling it, and we got oil down to $40. And again, the economy loved it. Again, trust me, this oil and the price of inflation is going to come up at the midterm elections next year. After this first year, with all the kind of the sweeps with Virginia and a couple other things, every single one of these things is going to come back, and we're going to hear a ton about how much gas is now versus what it was, and at that time 2 years later. So it's going to be one of those things. They better start this energy stuff flowing because it's coming. We're going to hear it across the board.
And just I was just taking a quick peek. I don't know. Do we want to take a quick peek? Do you want to? I don't know if you want to look at any of the equities. I know it's Monday. There wasn't a lot to really talk about. There's not a lot of
No,
news out today. I know we've got a lot of Fed speakers out there today, but for today, it is relatively quiet Monday, and it's
yeah.
where are we seeing it? We're keep an eye on that oil. The pound obviously got hammered at the end of last week, and it's trying to climb its way out of the
Yeah. Yeah, I
back.
mean, the one news for the weekend is the infrastructure bill passing. I feel like that will come into play today. They'll probably be talking about it, and as they roll out more of the details of it, Dow in particular, you can see that, again, it really kind of held that, it spiked up around the 36,300, came back down 36,200, and is now kind of basing and pushing higher again. So Dow's in an interesting position. Russell is still off to the races, and again, I think it's justified to be. It's still pushing, it's still pushing higher. If we can get a pullback, I think this would be a decent area to go long from. If we can get the pullback before the open, and ES kind of the same thing. It made an attempt. It got up to 47.12, but I think 47.25 is on the table. The market didn't initially like the 1.2 trillion, but it is additional spending. It is additional jobs. It's obviously less than half. So, it's interesting people that are claiming victory, but it's like, yeah, but it's less than half. You knew there was
Right.
going to be a compromise in who kind of won that one. And we'll see where it goes. And they're like, oh, this is a great ground point for other things. And it's kind of like the other side of the aisle is like, no, we got the deal we wanted. Why we don't need the other things? And they said like, oh, we agree to compromise on other issues, but yeah, right. Like, we've seen how that's worked out in the past. I promise, but today's a different day. So
Yeah, well, we'll see how that all ultimately
yeah,
manifests itself. But they did, it is kind of interesting. They did get that
yeah,
pushed across the line, and
yeah.
um,
But once they start announcing where it's going, who's getting it, I think that's going to be that will be able again. It will create jobs. It will
yeah,
provide further kind of profit down the road. Is it going to do what Yellen said? No, but it will provide things down the road. Like you don't increase infrastructure now to
literally,
control inflation.
literally down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's at least
Well, by
from my perspective.
2025, Tesla will have hover cars. We won't need roads. So I'm going to get
we'll
my
still
Doc Brown
we'll still need
glasses.
bridges. We're gonna
Where
need
we're going,
bridges.
Marty, we don't need roads.
I love it. Well, it also depends on what other infrastructure they decide to put in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is. Yeah, it is still a relatively quiet Monday. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. You got any questions for Brian? Email Brian at support@keeptradingsimple.com. And
If you guys want to see my routine, make sure you sign up and come tomorrow. Like I said,
yeah,
I'm
and I
obviously sick.
really want
I
to.
will be on meds and napping for the next 24 hours, but I am going through my actual daily routine of kind of what I'm doing with my watch list and things like that. So if you haven't seen it or you're curious, when I'm actually sitting here to trade, not when I'm broadcasting, when I'm doing kind of my thing by myself, I'm going to run through all that tomorrow. Plus, you get all the free gifts. So make sure you guys sign up.
Yeah, so sign up for again. And you know what? That's actually one thing I almost forgot. Just signing up so you get access to the recordings, but you'll also get access to the virtual event bag.
Post
So
Halloween, goodies that won't give you a spare tire. No discount double checks for me.
I like it. Discount double check. Well played. All right, again, what we're really teeing up oil. Pay attention. It's a hot spot in uh, this week, as a lot's being discussed at a political level on what can be done there's running gags in the industry. Hey, if anything was $80 a barrel, people would be interested, but particularly oil. Pound trying to claim back some of its weakness from the end of last week. Equities all looking to open slightly in the green, with the exception Nasdaq is kind of wavering a bit. Again, that's being pulled down a little bit by Tesla. But we'll see what the week has in store. Thank you for joining us this morning. We will catch you. We will be on tomorrow morning. There'll be no Nadex hour-long
Yeah,
session
no midday
tomorrow.
session tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll pick that back up next week. And with that, want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. Thanks, everyone.